Gnosticism is a complex and diverse religious and philosophical movement that emerged in the early centuries of the Common Era, particularly during the 1st and 2nd centuries. It represents a broad spectrum of beliefs, but at its core, Gnosticism revolves around the idea that spiritual knowledge, gnosis, is the key to salvation. This knowledge, however, is not merely intellectual or doctrinal, it is a deep, intuitive understanding of divine truths that are hidden from the material world and accessible only to the initiated. Origins and historical context. The origins of Gnosticism are still debated among scholars, but it is generally believed to have emerged within the context of early Christianity and Hellenistic Judaism, absorbing elements from a variety of religious and philosophical traditions, including Platonic thought, Zoroastrianism, and Eastern mysticism. Gnostic ideas are also thought to have been influenced by the broader Greco-Roman religious landscape, which was characterized by syncretism, the blending of different religious traditions. Some scholars argue that Gnosticism developed as a reaction against the perceived inadequacies of Orthodox Christianity and Judaism, particularly their focus on a transcendent God and the material world as inherently good. Gnostics, in contrast, viewed the material world as a flawed creation of a lesser deity, often identified as the demiurge, and believed that true salvation lay in escaping this world and returning to the realm of pure spirit. Core beliefs. 1. Dualism. One of the central tenets of Gnosticism is a stark dualism between the material and spiritual realms. The material world is often seen as a prison or a trap for the soul, created by a malevolent or ignorant deity known as the demiurge. This figure is sometimes identified with the God of the Old Testament, whom the Gnostics viewed as a tyrannical and imperfect creator. In contrast, the spiritual realm is associated with the true, unknowable God, a being of pure light and goodness. 2. The divine spark. Gnostics believe that within every human being resides a divine spark, a fragment of the true God, which has become trapped in the material world. The goal of the Gnostic is to awaken this divine spark and return it to its rightful place in the spiritual realm. This awakening is achieved through gnosis, or esoteric knowledge, which reveals the true nature of the self and the universe. 3. Salvation through knowledge. Unlike Orthodox Christianity, which emphasizes faith and the sacraments as the means to salvation, Gnosticism teaches that salvation comes through knowledge. This knowledge is not available to everyone, it is a secret, hidden truth that must be revealed to the initiated. Gnosis involves a deep, intuitive understanding of the divine and the self, often mediated through visions, mystical experiences, or the teachings of a spiritual guide. 4. The role of Jesus. In Gnostic thought, Jesus is often seen not as a savior who died for the sins of humanity, but as a divine messenger who came to impart the knowledge necessary for salvation. Some Gnostic sects, such as the Valentinian school, viewed Jesus as a figure who embodied both human and divine aspects, while others saw him as a purely spiritual being who only appeared to take on a physical form, a belief known as Docetism. In either case, Jesus' role is to guide souls to the knowledge that will free them from the material world. 5. Cosmology. Gnostic cosmology is elaborate and often involves a complex hierarchy of divine beings, or eons, who emanate from the highest God and populate the spiritual realm. The material world, in contrast, is the creation of lower beings, including the demiurge and his archons, who seek to keep souls trapped in ignorance and materiality. The Gnostic myth often includes a narrative of a fall or descent from the spiritual to the material realm, followed by the possibility of redemption through gnosis. Gnostic texts and schools. Gnosticism is not a unified doctrine but rather a collection of related ideas and texts. Many of these texts were lost or destroyed due to their heretical status within Orthodox Christianity, but some have survived, most notably through the discovery of the Nag Hammadi Library in 1945. This collection of Coptic manuscripts, found in Upper Egypt, includes key Gnostic texts such as the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the Apocryphon of John, and the Gospel of Truth. Different Gnostic schools or sects emerged over time, each with its own interpretations of Gnostic myths and doctrines. Among the most notable are Valentinianism, founded by Valentinus in the 2nd century. This school is known for its elaborate cosmology and its emphasis on the distinction between psychics, ordinary believers, and pneumatics, those possessing true gnosis. Valentinianism was one of the most influential and widespread Gnostic movements in early Christianity. Sethianism. This sect is named after the biblical figure Seth, whom the Sethians regarded as a spiritual ancestor and revealer of divine knowledge. Sethian texts often feature complex myths about the creation of the world and the fall of the soul into materiality. Mandaeanism, a Gnostic religion that survives to this day, primarily among communities in Iraq and Iran. Mandaeans revere John the Baptist as their chief prophet and maintain a dualistic worldview similar to other Gnostic traditions. Manichaeism, though not strictly a Gnostic movement, Manichaeism, founded by the prophet Mani in the 3rd century, shares many Gnostic elements, including a dualistic cosmology and the emphasis on salvation through knowledge. Manichaeism spread widely and influenced various religious traditions across Asia and Europe. Gnosticism and early Christianity. Gnosticism's relationship with early Christianity is complex and multifaceted. On one hand, many Gnostic sects considered themselves Christian and revered Jesus as a central figure. On the other hand, the teachings of Gnosticism were often at odds with the emerging Orthodox Christian doctrine, particularly regarding the nature of God, creation, and salvation. The early Church Fathers, such as Irenaeus, Tertullian, and Hippolytus, vehemently opposed Gnosticism, viewing it as a dangerous heresy that threatened the unity and purity of Christian teaching. Irenaeus's work against heresies is one of the most significant early Christian critiques of Gnosticism, providing detailed descriptions of various Gnostic sects and their beliefs. As the Christian Church became more institutionalized, Gnosticism was increasingly marginalized and persecuted. By the 4th and 5th centuries, with the establishment of the Nicene Creed and the consolidation of Orthodox doctrine, Gnosticism largely disappeared as a distinct religious movement, though its influence persisted in various forms, including medieval heresies such as Catharism, legacy and influence. Despite its suppression, Gnosticism has had a lasting impact on Western thought, particularly in the realms of mysticism, esotericism, and philosophy. Gnostic ideas have resurfaced throughout history, influencing various movements and thinkers, including the Hermetic tradition, Renaissance humanism, and modern esoteric and occult groups. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Gnosticism experienced a revival of interest, particularly among scholars, philosophers, and artists. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi texts in the mid-20th century provided a wealth of new material for the study of Gnosticism, leading to a renewed appreciation of its complexity and diversity. Prominent figures such as Carl Jung, who saw parallels between Gnostic myths and his own psychological theories, and writers like Philip K. Dick, whose novels explore Gnostic themes of reality, knowledge, and the nature of the divine, have contributed to the modern revival of Gnostic ideas. Gnosticism continues to captivate those who seek alternative spiritual paths or who are drawn to its themes of inner knowledge, the struggle against materiality, and the quest for divine truth. While it may never regain the prominence it once had in the early centuries of the Common Era, Gnosticism remains a fascinating and influential chapter in the history of religious thought.